Hey, welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. Today's adventure, we're going to continue plumbing. I am going to modify the hydrant in the backyard, and we're going to actually recess it into the ground. And in addition to that, we're also going to install a hose bib in the middle of the garden. So let's get started. To begin with, let's start with the materials I'm going to be using. I have the cover that recesses in the ground, and then I have all my fittings, my primer, and my glue. And this is my Teflon tape, which we're going to use on the threaded items. And, of course, my pipe cutter to fit the pieces together that need pipe. Now, this piece right here is a flow valve, or a check valve. It allows water to only flow one direction. Since my hose bibs out here in the garden and the hydrant are not the type that I installed on my house, it's the anti-siphon type, I'm going to install a check valve that allows water flow one direction only, and it will not allow the water to backflow into my water system. That is a safety issue. And of course, I have a ball valve to shut the water off to the garden and the hydrant, and then my hydrant valve will install right here. And then right here, this will continue out onto the garden. The pipe I'm using are 3/4 inch Schedule 40 pipe. You got a thick wall. The one I used for the RVs are 1/2 inch because I didn't want the pressure to the RVs. I wanted to reduce pressure to the RVs, so I'm using this pipe for the garden, which gives me maximum water flow to use multiple sprinklers. And also for fire suppression if I have to. These pipes come in 10-foot lengths, and they're relatively inexpensive. So my ditch, I took advantage of when I rented that ditch machine, when I dug the trenches for the RV hookups. I went ahead and dug these trenches also while I had it. So let's get started. Now I've repaired this before, so I know what I'm getting into down here. I just forgot how deep it is. Here in our county, or our state, the building code requires that we have a fire hydrant, and I believe, when I remember the code, it has to be spaced 25 or 50 feet from the house. I think it's 25 feet from the house, but has to be, they call it a hydrant, because it has to be able to be far enough that you can run out, grab your hose, and fight your fire if you, God forbid, that you should have a fire. I dug my hole out to the base of the hydrant where it connects into the water main, and we're going to go ahead and go up to the well and turn the water off. We're going to begin by taking this faucet off. And we're going to use this faucet in our new setup. And we're going to take the pipe out. Careful not to get sediment in there. Make sure we get our flow valve going the right direction. There's a little arrow on the flow valve. That little arrow shows which direction, so we're going to mount it going up. Okay, we got that set. Put some of this tape on this put that on. And we're going to primer that. We're going to cut a little bit of hose length. We're going to give this a dollop of glue. And this a dollop of glue. We're going to see that in there. We're going to primer that. Got my valve set up. Primer that. I give that a glue. Glue this. Mount that. Okay, technically I can turn the well back on. Turn this off. Okay, let's primer the inside of this and get ready to put the hose bib on. Now we just glue it up really good and stick it on. Okay, we're going to put the box over the top of it. Okay, now we glue up the end of my pipe and the end of this hose. Okay, insert the hose, give it a twist, let it set. Okay, and we're done. Now we just got to bury it. I'm using these 3/4 inch couplers to couple them now, together, and at the end I'm just using this 3/4 inch hose bib with a connector, and I'll just glue that right onto the end of the pipe. And here's the two ends of my pipes. Make sure they're clean enough, because you still have to primer the ends. And I just bought this kit. It's a primer and glue set from my local hardware store. So I'm going to go ahead and primer the ends of these, and while those are setting and drying, I'll primer the coupler. Get that end clean really good, because I'm using a liberal amount of glue, especially on these joints with the pipes, because I don't want to risk any water leaks here in the future. Just don't want to deal with water leaks. So remember, put these on. Give it a twist, that way it seats it, and it sets up. Hold it in place for a few minutes, and then let it set. Okay, I'm going to give this a primer on the inside, and let that dry. I'm going to clean up the outside of this, let that dry. Okay, let's glue it up. And there is a reason why I'm putting this hose bib on this way. If later I don't like it and I'm not happy with it, I'll just give it a cut here, put an elbow in, glue the elbow on, and it'll be fine. But I had the hose bib in my shop. I had bought it for a project, last year or so, thinking that I would use it, but I decided not to use that one. I got a different one. Well, I got my hose bib installed in the garden, and the hose bib lowered down at the hydrant and submerged under the ground, so it'll be better protected from freezing. So, I'm a happy camper. I got hose bibs. I got 3 hose bibs outside. Actually, technically, I have 5 hose bibs because I got 2 over on the RV connections. I installed the one on the front of my house yesterday, and then I modified the hydrant today, and then installed this one today. So we're done as far as hose bibs go. That's it. Hose bibs up at the barn, the duck pen, that's another episode. So I want to thank you guys for sticking with me on these adventures of the home improvements, do-it-yourself homeowners improvements. So please feel free to leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, and check back again frequently to see what other videos I have posted on home improvements and the development of my hobby farm. My name is Jerry Hansen. I'm your host here at Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. Please come back again.